Good morning, Jimmy. First of all, can I ask you about the situation with the squad? You've had this coronavirus positive test, some league games postponed. What's the situation there? How's it affecting your build-up to this cup game?
We've all been off I had to self-isolate myself for 10 days. I actually had a positive test myself. The rest of the players have had to self-isolate for 14 days. There's a couple of positive tests within the camp as well. So they fell into the same isolation period as myself. So today's our first day back. So pretty much once we've concluded our game against Altrincham, we had the next day off as a day off scheduled on the Thursday. And this is our first return back from that game 2 weeks ago. So we've obviously missed a lot of time out on the grass, a lot of tactical time. And as you quite rightly said, then missed the last 3 games.
How was your health if you had a positive test?
To be honest with you, I struggled a little bit. It hit me quite hard and kept me in bed for 2 days on the spin. And then kind of had a period whereby I felt well for a day and then unwell for a day. But the last 3 or 4 days, I've felt great. So hopefully back to full health and ready and raring to go on the grass today.
And how many players have tested positive?
There's a couple in the camp. I mean, we've managed to kind of look at maybe the possibility of it coming from outside of the camp as opposed to inside the camp, which is reassuring in terms of our current COVID protocols. But of course, like, you know, many clubs that have these outbreaks, it gives you an opportunity to sit down and review and have a look at what protocols you've got in place and an opportunity, a chance to tighten up in 1 or 2 areas. And we're confident that, you know, we've got everything in place within the football club to make sure a safe return and to make sure, you know, longevity. We have safety, you know, first and foremost at the football club.
So how would you pack what would have been, many, many days of preparation for a big cup tie into effectively 2 sessions now?
Yeah, well, I think with the scheduled fixtures anyway, you know, we'd pretty much probably only have 2 or 3 days specifically on Morecambe. But obviously, it would give us a chance to start to drip feed, you know, similarities. For example, if we were to play, you know, Tuesday of this week and the formation had similarities into the Morecambe one, we can actually get some hidden additional work in there. So it's obviously played a part in hampering our preparations to a certain degree. But as I say, you know, if we were to play Tuesday night, we'd pretty much only be focusing on Morecambe for the Thursday and Friday. And, you know, I've kind of said to the staff and to the players this season that, you know, I'd like it to be an 80-20 rule, and 80% of our working week is towards Solihull Moors and on how we want to play and how we want to evolve our playing style. And 20% will be, you know, the opposition and little tweaks in what we need to do with our shape and our principles. So I can't imagine it hindering our tactical preparations too greatly. But obviously, you know, the physical hit's going to be massive because the players haven't had that exposure to getting out on the grass and running around and most importantly, football-specific movements.
So I presume some of them would have been okay to do fitness at home, but maybe others would have been self-isolating and unable to do anything over the past couple of weeks then?
Yeah, there's a small group that were able to isolate differently because of they were injured, so their rehab has been slightly different. But in the main, most of the group have been unable to get out in the fresh air for 14 days, which obviously is going to have a massive impact and a massive bearing to our preparations for the game on Saturday. In
some ways, though, it might help in terms of they're just delighted to be back playing football and out playing again.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine, you know, most of them, we've been communicating on Zoom conversations and text messages and the odd phone call here and there. And, you know, everybody's just dying to get back into the real world and back on the grass. So I'd imagine it's going to be a massive positive in terms of enthusiasm and energy within the session today. We've got to make sure that we curb that to a certain degree as well, and we make sure we manage the boys accordingly with their physical loading today.
And finally, round 2, the club's not been in round 3 before, and what an exciting prospect that would be. It's a massive moment for you, isn't it, this weekend?
It is, yeah. And obviously, we've got to get this game out of the way first, you know. But you know, it'll be a massive tick, you know, and a massive step in the right direction if we could progress this football club into round 3. And as you say, you know, it'd be the first time in our history of a young football club in terms of getting into round 3. But we've got a difficult task on Saturday, regardless of this current COVID issue we've had at the football club. It'd be a massive task anyway. I think they're going quite well within League 2. They've got some good experienced players and they've got a good game style themselves. So it'd be, you know, it's going to be a difficult task, but we'll be doing everything we possibly can to maximise our opportunities and chances of getting into round 3, most definitely.
Thanks, Jimmy. I'll let someone else have a go now. Thank you.
Hi, Jimmy. Mark from ITV Central here. Hope you're well.
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Just picking up there on the last question from Dan. In terms of the FA Cup this year, and we've heard a lot about non-league clubs and lower league clubs struggling financially through the coronavirus. Do you think it means more now than ever that a club like yours gets to the third round?
I think so. Yeah, I think we can't put that to a side that financially, if we were to make it to round three, it's going to have a massive positive bearing on the football club. What I will say is our football club is run in a way that we've got fantastic backers, a fantastic chairman, a vice chairman, and a fantastic board of directors. So that the football club is ran within a way that it's ran to its means, which means I think that potentially Solihull Moors won't have suffered like many clubs because we are so financially stable and running a positive way. But yeah, definitely, any additional income to the football club within these torrid times is going to be very much welcomed. Yeah,
and I don't want to look too far ahead, but if you say did get to the third round, and it's not likely, I don't think that Birmingham as a whole will be in anything lower than tier 3 at the moment. But there's a real prospect that come January, of course, that, the situation could be different. Fans could be allowed back, and that again would be a massive thing for a third round tie for a club like yours.
It would, yeah. And it'd be fantastic for us to get the fans back in, as soon as possible, regardless whether it's round 3 in the FA Cup or back to normal league fixtures. We've missed the support, we've missed the fans. But if we were able to make it to round 3, and that kind of be the timing that fans were allowed back into the football stadium, be a fantastic showing for them to see where the football club's gone, the direction the football's gone in, and hopefully get one or two additional fans who have not been to Solihull Moors, through the door again because for the first time, because the football club are having some success on the football pitch. So it'd be something we would welcome massively. Yeah.
And for you personally, forgive me if you've probably answered this question before, but being a manager of a national league, non-league side during this time, what's it been like for you personally in terms of the challenges? You obviously mentioned that you've been affected by this yourself, only very, very recently. But what has it been like for you, for your players, and building up to this second round tie? You could be the first manager to take Solihull Moors to the third round, but with everything that's happened this year, I expect it's been a bit of a strange one for you.
Yeah, I think it's probably stranger the first time around because we had that uncertainty on the return to play date. So we initially thought we would be back in line with the EFL, and then that was delayed, and then there was some a little bit of confusion on when that start date would come, and that obviously had massive implications on our pre-season return date and when we got the lads in, and and how much we would have time in terms of preparing for the season. So that was difficult. Everything other than that, I have to say, has felt quite normal, other than not having the fans in the door. Obviously, the last 2 weeks is new times for us, and we won't know until Saturday at 3 o'clock on Saturday and how it's affected us. But we're confident that we can get enough tactical work into the players to be able to compete on Saturday.
I wonder if I could just pick up as well on the positive test that you and your players had. Do you think it affects a club like you perhaps more than it would, say, a professional club in the Championship or the Premier League as a spate of positive tests in terms of, what the players can and can't do in terms of training opportunities thereafter, in terms of, what they have access to at home, even in terms of simple terms, in terms of wages and where they live and that kind of thing? Do you think that those kind of issues affect you more and it would affect the players more on a day-to-day basis than perhaps Premier League players?
Yeah, just touching on that physical one. Obviously, if you're a Premier League football club and you're into a lockdown, then I'd imagine a member of staff would be able to deliver to you a spin bike and additional equipment. We obviously don't have that luxury. We've got fantastic facilities down at Studley. We've got a modern gymnasium that's got all the mod cons in terms of equipment, but we're unable to have enough equipment in volume to make sure everybody's got a piece of equipment that if they're able to exercise at home, they could do so. So that would be a massive difference, I guess. We're also, I think from this breakout that we had at the football club, I think if you look at most football clubs, if an individual player has tested positively, then the protocols they have in place enables that player just to leave the squad and everybody else to remain. So I'm hoping now that, speaking to the COVID officers and liaising with the local officials from the councils and Health England, that's something we can do also. So, dare I say, if we were to have a positive case again in the camp, then hopefully the protocols that are in place, then the possibility are much leaning towards that individual, just isolating individually, as opposed to having a mass isolation and, and the squad and the playing staff having to all isolate for a lengthy period of time.
What's it like in terms of the testing process at the moment? Because obviously it's compulsory in the Premier League. I don't believe it's still compulsory in the EFL. What's it like at National League level, and how often are you testing everyone?
The answer to that would be we're not. If anybody has any symptoms, then we are advising people to stay away from home, and obviously, in line with the NHS to go and get tested if they have symptoms. Again, being quite fortunate with the backing of the football club and how proactive the football club are, we've got access to a private facility, so we can have rapid testing also, and that's kind of transpired over the last 10 days. So again, that'll be another positive avenue for the football club to explore if we were to have the same situation, a week or 2 months down the line, if that was to arise again. So the answer to that question is we are not testing, in line with, some of these EFL football clubs. And I know lots of people that still operate and working around the Championship, and they're testing on a regular basis. We don't do that. The protocols that we have in place is, and across National League and especially for match day, is the temperature checks. And if somebody has a high temperature, then they're not able to enter the stadium. That's home and away. And, it's something that maybe it could have been better from the National League. It could have been advised better by the National League. But, as I said right from the start, we've looked at the small amount of cases that we've had, and we're pretty confident that all those cases have come from outside the football club as opposed to inside the football club.
Great. And just the final question, Jimmy, we've spoken about the fans. Once again, just what would it mean for the fans who haven't been able to come and see your side this season, to see the club move to the third round and potentially face one of the big boys in January?
Yeah, it'd be really positive. I think first and foremost, it'd be nice for the fans to see just how we've evolved as a football club, and obviously been tasked to do something slightly different to the football club and to play a different brand of football. I'm not saying that's the right or the wrong way to play football. It's the way that I believe the game should be played, and the way that I've kind of been educated as a coach too. And I think the football club and the football team are moving in the right direction. And we've had some positive results within the league campaign. We've had 6 clean sheets. We've had 2 tough tests already in the FA Cup. In our game against Wrexham, it was a tough game, and a tough qualifier then to get into the first round against League 2 opposition. So we've got another hurdle to come. So we'd be delighted to make round 3 and to get fans in the door, to have a big team, at Solihull on home turf, and for the fans to come in and just to see the steps that the football club are moving in. Great, Jimmy. Good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, Jimmy, it's Ben from Switch. Hope you're doing okay after what's gone on for you. Just to ask in regards to all the different injuries, obviously there's been no Alex Gudger in recent weeks. I believe Cameron Cox, Cameron Archer, Adam Rooney all missed the Altrincham game. How are things on that front? Yeah, so Cameron Cox was away on international duty with Wales. He's returned back now, so he's back in around the squad. We've only currently now got 2 what we would class long-term injuries, and that would be Adam Rooney, who's probably within the next 4 or 5 days of returning back to training, and then Callum Howe. Callum Howe underwent an operation on his meniscus, so Callum will be returning hopefully in around February, March time. So we've only really got 2 long-term injuries. So, if there's going to be a positive during the last 14 days, it's meant that, we've kind of gone from training with 16, 17, 18 outfield players to now being fortunate to have 24 players out on the grass. With regards to Cameron Archer is on loan from Aston Villa. Cameron Archer, before the breakout that we had at the football club, had to self-isolate because he's guest parents, so he stays in digs in accommodation via Aston Villa. They had a positive test within the household, so he had to self-isolate himself for 14 days, which is why he's spent so long away from the football club.
Cameron, over the last 7 to 10 days, though, because he finished his isolation period, has been back training with Aston Villa. So, you know, if there is a positive, we've got at least got one player within our camp who's been training regularly, and hopefully, you know, his fitness levels will be up in and around where the levels would expect and anticipate going into a game on Saturday.
Given all of those injuries and all of the different players that have been missing for various different reasons, would you say that if there's any time to have had a stoppage to the season, then perhaps this scenario was the best time to have had it in some ways?
I couldn't call that, if I'm honest with you. Obviously, the plus point, as I've just said, you know, we had 17, 18 outfield players, and we've got 24 today. So that's a massive positive. We're also, you know, you can't underestimate the power of momentum. And, you know, we just won the previous 2 games. Another clean sheet at Altrincham. You know, we want, when you're on a good run and, you know, you've got momentum going with you want the games to come thick and fast. And our next game was against Halifax. I think Halifax had a couple of players sent off and a couple of injuries within their camp as well. So, you know, that would have been a real good time to play them. And, you know, had we come through that with another positive result, it was, you know, it's to the league leaders Torquay United on the Tuesday night. So for me as a coach and as a manager, there's nothing better than preparing and playing games. And it's the best day of the week for me. So obviously a massive blow to miss games. So I couldn't call it. I couldn't say, look, it's a positive, you know, or it's a negative either way. You know, the current situation is we had to postpone 3 games. Those 3 games, you know, negatively now we've got to find a way of playing those 3 games within 42 days, which adds to that congestion of our season. But as you see, you know, from a positive perspective, you know, we've now got 24 players available and you know, we're making places and starting positions very, very competitive.
How different has it been for you having the 2 weeks to prepare? I know that you always like to focus on the here and now pretty much. As you said, 80% you focus on yourself, 20% you focus on the opposition. I guess if there is anything that you've been able to focus on with the additional time, it probably has been maybe the opportunity to look into the opposition, maybe watch some extra footage that you haven't been able to watch for preparation for previous games. Is that something that's really been different for you? Or has the scenario with COVID really kind of overshadowed all that?
No, you're dead right. It's obviously, you know, having those 3 games put to bed and postponed, you know, all we do is we look to that next fixture. And what I said to the staff was, and I was very, very conscious from the offset, was because you have additional time and you have additional footage, you know, not to fall into the trap of over analysing, because I think that can be a dangerous thing also. So it was a case of making sure that we knew we had 4 or 5 game footage of Morecambe to watch. I've watched 2, and we've kind of spread out the roles and responsibilities from the coaching staff on watching specific games. So, you know, it's not a case that I've sat down and watched 5 games because I think that would have been too much. And they've played 3 different formations over those 5 games as well. So the key thing for us in terms of game prepping and game planning is just to try and find some common trends, and, you know, regardless of their shape and their personnel, what common trends can we find with them in possession and out of possession? And we've managed to do that. So I'm hoping that, you know, we haven't utilised the additional time and we've over analysed and, you know, we've over critiqued, you know, their game style. And I'm hoping that our preparations haven't really been too dissimilar to how they would be, you know, regardless of having 2 weeks or not.
I guess 2 things that kind of stand out as trends just from a statistical perspective from the outside looking in is that Morecambe do have quite a notably leaky defence. They're the 3rd worst defence in League 2 in terms of goals conceded. But also they haven't gone goalless themselves in 10 games. So does that lead you to think that you're going to have to overcome some rocky moments in that game on Saturday? Yeah,
but the last 2 team selections have been very offensive based. So they've played more of a 4-3-3 with two 8s that are... I'd probably class as 2 more number 10s, you know, players that are going to look to get in between the lines and look to try and get on the ball and get beyond and go and join in and be really expressive in the final third. Centre forward has played out wide. Their number 10's played out wide, and they've brought another centre forward into the team with vast experience. So that would probably suggest, looking at the statistics that you've just mentioned there, in terms of they have a real goal threat because they have 5 real out and out offensive players on their team. But also, if they're going to have 5 offensive players in that starting lineup, it means they've got 5 offensive players, you know, when they need to defend, and maybe that's you know, maybe that ties into their stats of being a little bit more open and expansive, and teams getting around their back 4, you know, and their back 4 having that record as you state there. So most definitely, you know, we've identified ways that we can hurt them. and areas where we can exploit them, but we have to be mindful of their attacking abilities and how many offensive players they have on the pitch, of course.
I'll ask Jordan Cranston in a bit. I'm sure one of us will ask Jordan as to exactly what he's been able to kind of give you guys on Morecambe. But what kind of consideration have you given to anything he has said, if indeed he has said anything?
A majority of the conversation with Jordan were probably 3 weeks ago when the tie was first announced, and a little conversation on George. Just give me a little brief outline on what their game style will be and how they will play. And he gave me 2 or 3 things, and the 2 or 3 things that he mentioned, obviously being an ex-Morecambe player and living and breathing their game style and their philosophy and the way of doing things. I'd be a fool, and would be a fool as a coaching staff not to listen to him. And the things that he'd mentioned, most definitely we've seen some similarities in our observations and the way that they play. So that's testament to them as a football club as well, that they have a way of doing things and a consistency and on how they play with and without the ball.
Just in regards to the last couple of years, obviously the second round of the Cup, it's been a case of so near and yet so far for 3 out of the last 4 years. Do you get any sense that there's a greater urgency and a need to right some wrongs for some of the players in that regard?
Maybe for the players that have been here over the last 2 years and have been in those cup ties, yeah, for sure. For me, no. For me, it's no different to any other game. It's actually, from a psychological point of view, it's a free hit for us. We're the underdogs. We've had 2 weeks away from work. We're going to go into it maybe, with our physicality dented because we've not been able to get on the grass and, as I spoke about, expose our players to the level of physical conditioning that they would do, and their football specific movements is going to take a hit. So we're the underdogs, so it's a bit of a free hit. So I go into every game with an expectation to win the game. I go with it, rightly or wrongly, every game I go into is with an expectation to be the dominant force and to gain control with and without the ball. And that is my mentality. And, they're only a league above us. I think the step is, the step in some cases for teams within League Two is a big step. But for a majority, the difference between National League clubs and League Two clubs, it isn't, the gap isn't that big anymore. So, we'll be going in as underdogs, and I'll be going in with a winning mentality to get Solihull Moors through into the next round of the FA Cup.
And just finally, I think it's safe to say that you've walked into the house that Tim Flowers has built to a certain extent at Damson Park, but one of the 2 things he didn't get to do was get the Moors to the Football League and, of course, get the Moors to the 3rd round of the FA Cup. On a personal level, what kind of significance would it be to change one of those things on Saturday?
I guess it's my job. I guess the job as a manager is to, when you're in cup competitions, to stay in those cup competitions as long as you possibly can. And, the club has aspirations and ambitions to get into the Football League. And that's what I've been appointed to do. So I guess, progressing as long as we can in cup competitions, that's what I'm paid to do. And to try and get the football club into the Football League, that's what I'm paid to do also. And, and if the football club are to progress into round 3, if the football club are to progress into the Football League, Tim Flowers has played a massive part in that process, in building the football club and, and giving it an opportunity for myself to evolve it and to move it on. And, and dare say in a year's time, in a month's time, how football works. When I move on, hopefully I'll have left the football club in a better place for somebody again to evolve and to progress. And I guess that's our jobs as managers of football clubs.
Cheers, Jimmy. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
One thought I'd add, Jimmy, if I may. With the way that things are set up, you've probably got, whatever happens this weekend, the thick end of another 40 games to play this season with the various competitions. You've still got nearly 40 league games. Can you at all plan ahead in the current circumstances, or do you more than ever have to go one game at a time?
We pretty much have lived and breathed one game at a time and just the next game. Obviously now with the congestion, the pile up of fixtures of trying to squeeze these 3 fixtures in that we've cancelled, maybe we have to look a little bit different, and maybe we have to start looking at utilising the squad and squad rotation. And, I'd hate at any level to look at the league table and say, right, then that's going to be an easier game than that game, because games don't transpire that way. I mean, we've probably arguably had 2 of our best performances and 2 of the two 2 losses against teams that we thought we'd done more than enough to win the game. Which tells you the story of the league and how competitive the game is, and anybody can beat anybody in any given day. But I think with those additional 3 games squeezed in now over the next 42 days, we have to be sensible. We have to start looking at utilising the squad fully, and it's not something that I'm comfortable with. I'm very much that if you're performing, you're in the team. I don't really like squad rotation and utilising the squad in that way and in that manner. I'm very much performance related, and if you're performing, you stay in the team. If we're winning and it's successful, we don't change it. We don't, we might tweak it in 1 or 2 ways, but we stick to task as often as we possibly can. So it's going to be new waters for myself in terms of looking at games and pre-planning and looking and thinking, right, that individual or those individuals cannot possibly go 3-4 games on the spin on Saturday, Tuesday, because inevitably there'll be a chance of them breaking down physically. So, we're going to have to approach it differently certainly over the next 6 to 8 weeks.
But I wonder whether that, in a sense, given that to a greater or lesser degree, every club in every league has a similar problem, whether that will to some degree, be it this weekend or further beyond, act as some kind of leveller, because every club is going to have to juggle that to some extent.
Yeah, they will do. And the only thing I can speak with confidence from my perspective is that we've got a very competitive squad, and so the way that we play, we've pretty much got a minimum of 2 players per position. And the 2 players per position, I'm not just saying this because I'm on air, we really are competitive across the board, so I'm hoping that will play, in a positive aspect for Solihull Moors, that we have got a big squad and big numbers, and we're very, very competitive across the board.
Good, lovely. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.